Jesus tæt på hold det glinder næst blå bæs på Just nil time du bra hadje vel I livet påske vil slå Just med blå mit blod Just tæt på mit par lille pong Jesus tæt på hold det glinder næst blå bæs på Just nil time du bra hadje vel I livet påske vil slå Just med blå mit blod Just tæt på mit par lille pong cirka strå En lille kløs jeg slår ned Så koldt I mammas blå Just tæt på mit par lille pong cirka strå En lille kløs jeg slår ned Så koldt I mammas blå Jesus tæt på hold det glinder næst blå bæs på Just nil time du bra hadje vel I livet påske vil slå Just med blå mit blod Just tæt på mit par lille pong cirka strå En lille kløs jeg slår ned Så koldt I mammas blå Just tæt på mit par lille pong cirka strå En lille kløs jeg slår ned Så koldt I mammas blå Jesus tæt på hold det glinder næst blå bæs på Just nil time du bra hadje vel I livet påske vil slå Just med blå mit blod
Hi everybody, hello Vay. Sorry I'm a little late by like 4 minutes, not that that's actually an amount of time to be late by. I fucked my sleeping schedule, which is not good, but also I've been very productive since fucking up my sleeping schedule. So maybe it's a good thing? I don't know. I just realized there is no volume from my game. Is that on my end? Because I'm a freak who turns my game volumes down half the time. No. Yes? Is there just nothing in the... Sorry, I know I'm not, sharing my screen yet. I just don't want to share the screen of the game and stuff. Anyway, I have fucked my sleep schedule amazingly. Yesterday, oh yeah, that would make sense. For some reason, the audio is trying to come out of my microphone. That'll do it. And it crashed. Okay. Lots of things happening. I stayed up until, like, I pulled an all-nighter, and I stayed up past my 11 a.m. class till, like, 2. And then I slept. Then I woke up at, like, 8, and then I slept again. Then I woke up at, like, 3 a.m. and was up until 2. And then I slept until 10 minutes ago. But in between that, I also made some art and also made really good head progress in some school stuff. So ignore the stream being My Lovely Daughter. For some reason, there is not a category that I could find for the second game, which is My Lovely Wife, which is what we're actually playing. Congrats on the art and school progress. Thank you. That's like the important part. Like, I don't know why I'm more productive, but it is what it is. At least. No offense to the women, we're gonna play with the Incubus is on. Oh, they're making a new one? I'm not very good at this game. That being said, I love, like, resource management games like this. I, Jake, the one who fell for you on the day we met. Herbaloth, 1227 MY. That's a date, I think. She should be here soon. Good morning, are you my new manager? Sorry I'm late. Oh, no worries, you're just in time. Thank the Celestials, I didn't want to make a bad first impression. Oh, where are my manners? I'm Luna, I'll be in your care from today on. I'm Jake, it's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Luna. You're new in town, aren't you, Jake? That's correct, but I won't let it hinder my work. You really are a serious person, just like the boss told me. Don't worry, I'll show you around sometime. Let's get on with today's schedule, shall we? Sure, let's go. What a kind woman. I hope I didn't sound weird. I do love that they just immediately give her, like, death flags. Off to your lesson at the charm school today? Madam M is really strict, wish me luck. So here's, like, the resource management bit, so we gotta... Oh, did I click on it? I thought you dragged it, but that might be the first game. Man's charm comes from his etiquette, is Madam's M School's motto. She is a strict woman with a well-earned reputation. And then... Take you, Luna, to be my one and only. 2 years later. Did something happen? You look rather happy today. Oh, Jake, look at these fan letters. I never thought so many people would like my singing. It's because you have a voice unlike any other, Miss Luna. I'm flattered. Thank you, Jake. Just stating a fact. Oh, should we get going now? Yes, Lord Willard said he had a crowd that needs entertaining at his hotel lounge. Understood. I just realized the, like, matte, like, painting coloring style of this game kind of matches my model. That was unintentional. There are lots of people from neighboring towns, so it's unusually packed today. Sure is. Are you okay? Yes, I'm alright. Just preparing to stun them with my song, that's all. I don't want to spoil the bit, so I'm just gonna, like, wait for the big thing to happen. I'm glad you're my manager, Jake. I I can feel my heart hammering. I have to tell her how I feel right now. Miss Luna, truth be told, I have feelings for you. Can we be more than just colleagues? More than just friends? Oh, Jake. I'm glad you asked. I've been waiting for this for so long. Yes, let's be more than friends. We've done it. It's that easy. It's that easy, ladies and gentlemen. I will always love you and be by your side. 3 years later. So this is 5 years into them knowing each other. It was an amazing performance. The audience was very happy. Thank you, Jake. Where are we headed tonight? To the plaza. Oh, I thought the plaza no longer hosted performances. It's okay, tonight will be different. What will? You'll see. Take Luna on a date. Yes. Is this a date? Yes. Wow, I've never been to this part of the plaza. The podium is so beautiful. How did you find this place? I was following a bird. Force of habit, I guess. That's one strange habit. When I was little, my father often brought me bird hunting with him. I even keep his rifle in my house as a keepsake. Is something the matter? No, it's the first time I've ever heard about that. So is this where I'll perform? I don't see the audience. No, Luna, you're not going to perform tonight, but you'll still be the star. That's an ominous way to phrase that. We've been together for a while now, don't you think? I've been meaning to tell you something, Luna. The proposal! Let all my happiness be yours, and all your sadness be mine. Let the whole world be yours, and only you be mine. The model looks so much better in real time as you use it. The way you layered the animation expressions is so good. I mean, it's your art, so thank you, smiley face. Till death do us part. The death in the red text is never good. You never want to see that. 1 year later. Honey, I have to go sort out a problem with Madam M now. Okay, who will be accompanying me today? The boss will help you out, don't worry. I'll be coming back late, so you can go home first, okay? No problem, honey. Take care. So, what should I do today? Charm, 35 out of 200. Flair, 5 out of 200. Send her there for now. Yeah, we can only really go to the 2 places. This will just earn us money, will it not? And Carnal Essence, which I don't think we really need or want at the moment. Yeah, just become manners. Becoming manners. Okay, we're at 125. That's pretty good. I mean, go back in there. Now you can perform. Guess it's time to go back home. Oh no, they've shown us a new area of the house. Never a good thing. What's that sound? Could it be a thief? Who are you? Get away from her! Grab the gun! Grab the gun! Yes, yes, yes! Grab the gun! You have to defend your wife! Why is it the pale man from No, I'm Not a Human? That is not a human's arm. Oh, well. Goodbye, wife. Goodbye, wife. No! My wife. Turning the incubuses on for this instead of the succubi is actually incredibly funny, because it is like, well, my wife's dead, and I'm gonna make a bunch of homunculi to try bringing her back. But if I make other women, that's cheating on me. And not just that I wanted to look at the incubi and not the succubi. Alright. Who was that? I can't remember, no matter what questions I'm asked. It's all so hazy. Oh, Luna, I'm sorry. I killed you with my own hands. Oh, that's rough, buddy. I can't bear this. This is too much. What's this, a letter? It can't be from Luna. Dearest Jake, parting with you is the last thing I would ever want. Yet, when my time comes, please know that I'd never leave you alone. Wipe away your tears as someone will come to aid you on my behalf. Their words are my words. Listen to them carefully. I await the days when my life can be filled with your smile again. Love you always, Luna. Send wife to work, life good. Kill wife, miss wife. Yeah. It's her handwriting. I'm sure it's her. For now, I will do as she says. Huh? Who would come at this hour? I don't actually remember the name of Homunculus' daughter from the first game. It would be very interesting if daughter from My Lovely Daughter is wife from My Lovely Wife. Obviously not the same main character, because that would be weird, but you get what I'm saying. Which would make sense as to why she is sending people to give Jake alchemy books. That being said, I don't actually know if that's intentional in the lore. I don't remember. It's been forever since I've played My Lovely Daughter. Who is it? I apologize for the intrusion. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name's Philip. I'm a researcher from a neighboring town. I've come to talk about something important. It's related to your late wife. What about my Luna? Let me cut to the chase. I'm actually researching something called carnal essence. Never a good thing to say. It's a substance with enormous potential. It might even be capable of resurrecting humans. Wait a minute. Don't tell me you're suggesting. Everyone is concerned about your well-being, Mr. Jake. I'm here to help you. Tell me, what can I do? Honestly, picking on the grief of a grieving, is it a widow if you're a man? I'm assuming so. Picking on the grief of a grieving widow to make him make homunculi for you is honestly a pretty good business practice. Well, for starters, please accept this research paper and these materials. Summoning an incubus? What does this have to do with what you've told me? You see, Mr. Jake, carnal essence exists within inside all men. I guess this one isn't homunculi like the first game. This one is literally summoning demons. Whatever. The first game is homunculi, and it's also the same mechanic, technically. It's what the incubi are after when they prey upon us. Only they can extract it from our bodies. However, by using the summoning ritual, you can tame them, mostly. Use that advantage to get them to collect carnal essence. You want me to... This is not a porn game, by the way. Points at the camera. I'm just imagining you're making the minions from Despicable Me. Honestly, not far off. At least not for the first game. Use them to collect carnal essence for me, that's correct. I need your help with this so I can focus on my experiments. I love that nobody has mouths in these games. Please accept these materials. You'll need them to summon an incubus. How should I do that? I mean, what exactly do I have to do in order to... Or what exactly do I have to order them to do? I understand that all this can be rather overwhelming. Let's just try to summon an incubus for now. Meet me in Harbeloth after you succeed. Don't forget to bring your incubus with you. You're leaving? Yes, now if you'll excuse me. See you in town, Mr. Jake. This is like my opinion on the substance, which is that if I was, for whatever reason, giving people evil drugs, and in this case, having people summon incubi for me, I would put a lot more detail into it, you know what I mean? That way we have no, like, weird mistakes. Like, kind of just letting him freeball summon a demon is crazy to me. But, I mean, go off, I guess, Mr. Man. Incubi, carnal essence? It's also weird. But if he's a person that Luna mentioned in the letter, and what if he's not? He is not proven that he is. I shouldn't waste time. Let me try to summon an incubus. The research paper. I put it in my archive. Okay. Time to make the circle. That should do, I think. I have to summon them with the materials that the researcher gave me. Summoning time. Place ingredients in these circles to summon an incubus. Flip the pentagram in the center after 3 ingredients are placed. Now I believe... Oh, okay, we only have the one. Okay, I was gonna say, I believe it does also work like My Lovely Daughter, which is that you need a ratio of 2 to 1. Because I think if you would do like 3 separate ingredients, you get like a failed creation. We'll let his name be Bryce. That's fine. Hello, Bryce. Are you my summoner? Yes! I can't believe this. It's just a pathetic human. What do you want from me? I'm looking disrespectfully. I'm not gonna lie. I need your help collecting carnal essence. Lots of it. So you're saying I'm gonna be here for a while, is that it? I'm afraid so. Then prepare the best room for me, and I expect first-class service or else. Alright, well, we only have one room for him to go into. Alright, let's talk to him a little bit. Excuse me, state your business. I don't have time to spare. Do you need anything? I figured if I can be of any help. You think I'd fall for your act? I'm your summoner. Gain the provocative trait. Awesome. But I was the one who summoned you here. And do you think I owe you something? Know your place, fool. You are merely prey. Once this ends, I'll suck you dry and throw you away. Suck me dry? Sorry. He had the same reaction as me, I think. You should be grateful that I will be the one who will take your life. After all, you're in the presence of the right hand of the Demon Queen herself. You're not gonna tell me what that trait does? And that was his third heart of it? That's weird, I think. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, bye. Phew, that went unexpectedly well. I should go see that researcher in town now. Alright, we need to, go to town. Hello, Mr. Jake. I see you've brought an incubus with you. Splendid work. Has he even shapeshifted into a human? I'm not sure how he did that. I just didn't want to cause commotion by bringing a demon with me. Exactly. You're brilliant, Mr. Jake. Now, what should we do? I normally suggest you take him to Lord Willard. After all, many people come to his hotel for appointments with various incubi. Yeah, I was gonna say, that's my reaction. You're telling me people just know about demons in this world and are also... I mean, the purposefully going out of your way to fuck a demon makes sense to me, I guess, but, like, they're just chill with this in this, like Eastern European-ass town we're in? Lord Willard knows about incubi? But feel free to roam around. I shall accompany you. Alright. No, pause. I assume you really go to this side of town. You seem relaxed. As a researcher, I've been to many places. Besides the hotel, you can assign your incubi here to work. You can speak with Lady Aphrodite here to make inquiries. You mean the incubus will... absorb his client's carnal essence, of course. Isn't this Think of this as feeding your incubus. It's in their nature to absorb carnal essence, after all. You will be fine. What's that sound? You've never gone inside? I've never had any business in this place before. Well, you can send your incubus here so you can keep up with the human trends. Trends? Learn various positions and all. Is that what I'm thinking it is? It is. It's necessary for your incubus to absorb more carnal essence. I never knew. What's with this town exactly? Why do they have this kind of place? I'll be 1 second. I need to clear my throat and get more water. I'm like coughing, or getting choked up, rather.
Just to reach party lily pond and silken straw. You lily close, you slow you. Så konstig, you must flow. Just to reach party lily pond and silken straw. You lily close, you slow you. Så konstig, you must flow. Just hos på halvduklinna och näst på bäst på. Just nu tem du bra hade väl i livet på
Okay, I think I'm good. I'm no longer gonna choke to death, hopefully. Here's where I conduct my research. So these are the ruins. I've only heard about this place from the townsfolk. Well, it's covered by a thick forest, so it's rather dangerous to go here alone. Yeah, boy is just hanging out in the fucking Frankenstein Dracula castle. You're one brave researcher, then. Nobody ever comes here, thus making it the perfect location to conduct my experiments. Said like a normal guy would say, and not, anybody suspicious. You can send your incubus here so I can take their raw carnal essence. I suppose you can go by yourself now, Mr. Jake? I still don't know what to think about all this. It all feels so wrong. Now, Mr. Jake, just focus on your wife. You don't have to think about anything else. Luna, whatever it takes for Luna. I need 300 carnal essence for my next experiment. Don't forget that you can also assign your incubus to Lord Willard's hotel to collect carnal essence and gold. I don't know why the word essence is gonna fuck me up. Can you do that for me? I'll be waiting at the ruins. Yes, anything. Anything for my wife. Okay. Assign, increase their flair. Okay. Inventory, home. I got it. What are our stats like? We have 5 charm and 5... I don't know what the provocative trait does for me. Not everyone knows about the scandalous bordello run by Lady Aphrodite, except the locals and frequent visitors. I love her heart tattoo on her titty, just like Jennifer Tilly in the Chucky franchise. Noir Academy. Due to an increased demand in special education, Miss X established this academy not so long ago. And then, that's all we can really do. We have no carnal essence, so... I mean, let's send him here first. Teach him to kiss. Not that I necessarily think an incubus needs to be taught how to kiss, but, like, go off king, I guess. And then we will, humans change, huh? He's like, oh, y'all finally learned about what BDSM is. Awesome. I love games like this. I was never very good at the original My Lovely Daughter. Hopefully I will be better as an incubus trainer than a homunculus maker and raiser. You want me to do what? We have 35 carnal essence. Hey, bud. I'm so not in the mood to appear in public. Don't assign me to the hotel today. Oh, but I might need you there. So I don't get time to recharge? I know my own condition more than you, mortal. You should just listen to me. That's not what I meant. Alright, you won't be working at the hotel today. Okay. Well, we will, not be going to the hotel today. I should pay attention to the incubus requests to make them comfortable living with me. Alright, so we will not go to the hotel. So, yeah, I guess you're just gonna, learn to kiss, my man. You're gonna become the best kisser. Because I can't go on a date with you yet. Oh, we're kind of getting there, though. Honestly, this might work out better for us in the long run. Because 65 is not bad. And we succeeded, so let's go talk to him again. I was wondering, how's your relationship with the other incubi now? Well, I mean, we don't have any, so that's like a moot point, but alright. What's with that question? Of course they respect me. They should respect me. You sound uncertain. Quit being so noisy. No, nosy. I was the right hand of the Demon Queen. How dare they not respect me? I don't have any of the things I need to talk to him. Okay. Bye, dude. 25%! He likes us a little bit, though. Okay, now we can, send him to the hotel. And see how this goes now that he has a higher stat. We should get more off of it. I don't actually know if a game like this is very fun to watch, so apologies ahead of time if it's not. I just love games like these. I love simulator games. I also love that this one has a cool theme of incubi and saving your dead wife. I like the vaguely horror themes. I like the excuse to wear my groom outfit also. Okay, we have enough essence now, but, like, do we want to kill him is the thing. And the answer is probably just because I think the tutorial wants us to, but I was wondering... Oh, this is the same conversation. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm going to kill you. What is Philip's warehouse? Oh, this stuff we can buy. Okay. This was where Harbalof's ancestors first built their civilization, a perfect place secluded oneself as no one ever comes here. Alright. Are you sure? My power. Oh, you lived after that? That's crazy. I'm so used to My Lovely Daughter where they explode at the end when you harvest them. And by explode, I mean you kill them in varyingly awful ways depending on, what type of homunculus they are. Chapter 1, The Love Martyr. That's a great chapter name, honestly. Even though they feed on humans, I don't think it's right for me to exploit the incubi. They're living beings just like us. Luna, is this what you would want me to do? Probably not. Just, objectively, probably not. Good day, dear sir. Oh, you have the same skin color as the arm that attacked my wife. It's not him. The robe must be from the shrine. Hello. Do you need something? A moment of your time, sir. We just want to talk about how we can help you. Oh, I don't have time for this. I'm sorry, I'm really busy at the moment. I will visit the shrine myself if I have time. Wait, sir. I bet they only want me to pray to the Celestials or something. Who am I kidding? I'm the one who needs to repent. Them again? Oops, are you in the middle of something, Mr. Jake? Oh, it's you. I want to thank you for the carnal essence you gave me. Now I can continue with my experiments. Do any of your findings concern resurrection? I understand that you're eager about this, but we have only just begun. Philip. Yes, Mr. Jake? How are you so calm? No matter how I think about it, all of this, it's all so wrong. Well, when there's something we really want, we fight for it. I too have my own reasons for doing this. That is why I cannot stop. So you too. Something that you hold dear. Jake, my boy, you are, like, being so manipulated. It is, like, written on the wall and you don't see it. Of course, I'm a human after all. So sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. It's perfectly alright. This is something we can discuss later. And what is it you've brought with you? Oh, you notice? This is new material for summoning an incubus. You can use it to summon other kinds of incubi. The thing is, I'm not sure if I can keep more incubi. I need to repair the rooms first. You can always talk to me about that. I'll be at the ruins anytime you need me to help you renovate a room. Okay then. This is all stuff we know. Okay. Hello, do you have anything new to say to me? No. Okay. I should visit the ruins. Yep. How much? 500? We have that. We'll do that and get a new incubus. Our charm is really bad. I would also like to go on a date. We'll send him to charm school first, and then we'll go on a date. He can have a little date as a treat. Oh, I don't have money? Question mark? Oh yeah, it's like $1,000. Okay. What is this? The laugh when you put them at the brothel is so funny to me for no real reason. Okay, we have new ingredients. Put those bad boys in there. It's gonna go all item new. Dayton. Bargainer. Building cost minus 15%. That's pretty good. Hello. I don't know about the rest of chat, but I could watch you play this game for hours. I love resource manager games with a story. That makes me feel better. Yeah, I love games like this. Also, cute incubi. What a nice house you have here, and it's still empty. Perfect. Huh? I'm not sure if I can add more furniture. Not that dull stuff. Your house lacks shine. But I cleaned it. No, it lacks sparkly stuff. Sparkly? You mean like gold-coated items or something? That's the stuff. I don't think it's necessary. Moreover, something doesn't have to be sparkly to have value, right? Boring. In that case, I'll just use this house to store my stash. You want me to do what now? Are you deaf? I need a place to keep my new collection before I go back. Wait a minute. I don't take no for an answer. Hello, Bryce. Okay, well. Hello, Mr. Jake. How was it? Were you able to summon any other incubi? Well, forgot to tell you something. Did you notice that it's a bit tricky to communicate with the incubi? Yeah, they're kind of, not very responsible. This guy is just literally a crow. Yeah, the incubi, yeah. Sometimes I feel like I can answer them with something, but the words just won't leave my mouth. This is precisely why you must hone your skills. Remember that you're speaking with demons, complicated and fickle beings. How do I do that? Kill them with this! Okay, we do kill them. Okay. I wasn't wrong. I was like, I remember killing people in, My Lovely Daughter. I thought you killed them in this as well. Kill them with this to obtain their carnal essence. Then you can use the carnal essence to build your skills. Terminating an incubi will give you carnal essence and materials. A larger amount of carnal essence can be acquired when the executor has a deep bond with the sacrificed incubi. Incubi with higher charm and flair yield higher materials. Kill? Yes, you can absorb their collected essence if you kill them. There's no point in me killing them, however, as I only require the raw substance. I have other methods to extract their carnal essence. Are you fucking my incubi? Are you fucking my incubi when I send them to your isolated castle? That's okay, but I feel like you should tell me. You can do this, Mr. Jake. Killing an incubus. That means you've done this too? I'm afraid it was a necessary step for my research. Well then, I should get going. Remember to let me know if you have any further problems, Mr. Jake. Now I have to kill them? First my wife, now I'll have demon's blood on my hands too? I'm even more wicked than a demon. Dutch East Indies in turmoil. Let's stay up to date what's happening just to stay on schedule. Oh my god, I didn't realize this game had a skill tree. I played this one like a couple of times very briefly. I definitely played My Lovely Daughter a lot more. Okay. Attractive, clever, daring, and lucky. So this is where we want to go just because I know we have a seductive answer that we need. For now, though, we're gonna go start working. I'm gonna put him here because I want to take him on a date before I kill him to get his affection up. And then we'll train you here, I think. Oh, acquire Cardinal Essence by plus 30%. That's awesome, actually. Let's go. Killing him sounds sad, then. The alchemy guy research is just making homunculi with demon cum. Yeah. That certainly is what it feels like. Get back in there. The incubi gains a new trait every time I send them to the new place. It could be a good one or a bad one. I should be careful. Faithful. Duration -1 at the ruins or shrine. No lower than 1. Where is the shrine? Oh, I don't think we can go there yet. Okay. Learn to kiss, Dayton. I keep wanting to call him Drayton, like the guy from Texas Chainsaw, which is not his name. How much money we got? Not enough still. If you do so good at the brothel, I will take you on a date as soon as we have enough money, I promise. That's a crazy thing to say, also. Get in there. He has so much carnal essence, too. Like, he has to be the one we kill, I think. Woman found dead. Oh, that's great news, everybody. Good job. I mean, that wasn't our fault, but... You look so serious. Something on your mind? A conspicuous building in the slum. Slum? You mean Aphrodite brothel? Yeah, I saw a person with a stash of beautiful jewels there. Maybe he's selling it? Anything caught your eye? Everything! I love his piercings, by the way. They're so cool. Hey, assign me that brothel today. You want to buy the jewels? I didn't say anything about buying. We could get in trouble. I'm no amateur, just sit back and wait. What's he gonna do? Be like, a demon stole my gemstones? I'm putting him in there. You got a new story? No. Alright. Yep. Alright, we're gonna go work. We're gonna send him. And then to make money, we're gonna send him to the hotel, even though he's not the best at singing, I don't think. It's okay, though, we need money. Are we on a date now? Not yet. Almost. Getting devoted? Is this 100% more carnal essence when killed? Oh wait, hold on. They're like fighting over who they want me to kill more. It's actually kind of sick. For me, in a weird, twisted way. We are not gonna have enough time to take him on a date today. We'll have to do it tomorrow. But we should have enough money now. Serial killer on the loose? This town cannot catch a fucking break. I still don't understand what makes you so obsessed with sparkly stuff. Like I said, their beauty isn't comparable. Besides, I feel fulfilled if I get to have it all. And it's kind of interesting seeing others fight over my possessions. But of course I won't let them take it. The others? Do you mean the other kinds of incubi? Our rivalry does not concern them. It's just among your kind, then? It's a race to collect the most luxurious stuff. I think I'll speak to him another time. I want to take him on a date before I kill him. Is that so much to ask for? Okay. We're going on a date. I don't like that it made that noise. Okay, then we need to train you up. The other guy. Dayton. Okay. So after this, we're gonna kill Bryce, everybody. So, RIP Bryce, we can make another Incubus. It's not gonna be the end of the everything. We have 1,000. Can we even get more? I guess we can. Yeah, you're gonna make us money. You're gonna continue learning. If I could tie them like this. Love Festival. Okay, minus from that. Minus money, but gain more essence. Okay. Oh, I guess festival festival that makes you have a discount at the brothel. Sorry, I was muting the mic while I sneezed violently. Alright, come here, Bryce. Not like this. These are rare ingredients. I can get these if I kill them. Let's fucking go. But also less as cool as the personalized deaths in My Lovely Daughter. Oh, Philip, you're here. I have a question about incubi. Is it about the incubi's affection? That is actually what I wanted to share with you today, my latest findings. Findings? I haven't tested it myself, but I've heard that when an incubus falls in love with a human, they can also transform into a human. In doing so, they would produce a great deal of carnal essence, the best quality. Turn human? But how exactly can we turn them into humans? You have to fuck the incubus, Mr. Jake. As I was saying, I haven't quite deduced that part yet. Do you want me to test it? Huh? Do you want me to make an incubus fall in love with me, I mean? Mr. Jake, I didn't realize you were such a confident man. That's not what I know, I apologize for teasing you. He wants to eat me. I say that a lot about horror narratives, I'm like, this guy wants to eat them. He wants to eat me. It would be splendid if you could try it, though, since you have far more experience with... Stop it. Just make sure that the incubus has enough affection towards you. Since we're in high spirits, I have something for you. Please accept this. Is this blood? It's a new summoning material. You look disappointed. That's not it. I just didn't expect blood. Phew. I thought I ruined your mood. Oh, may I request something from you, Mr. Jake? Are you not already? It's just the usual, but I need more. Carnal essence? Correct. Could you provide me 3,000 carnal essence this time? I'll see what I can do. Keep your spirits up, Mr. Jake. I won't let you down. I think you will. I think you will let me down, actually. Yeah, I was gonna say, this is just the thing. So here's the thing. We could use all of the blood, or we could kind of be crazy with it and see what this gets us. Camden, Alamia. Oh, what's up? He's kind of sick. He has no traits, and he starts with really low... Actually, I think that's high starting Flare and Charm. I did it! Hi, Camden. What's up, man? Camden? Calling me so casually. How dare you? What should I address you as? Prince. Prince? Prince Camden. And what do you want? I probably need to bring you to Lord Willard. Huh? You dare give him orders to a prince? I'm not ordering you around. That's not my intention. I just figured that since you were newly summoned. Having someone other than Master Asmodeus telling me what to do. This is an insult. Listen, human, you're nothing like him, so don't ever think of speaking to me so casually. You hear me? Yes. Tacky, what is this? Doesn't want to learn at Madam M. Gone in... That's fine. I don't actually care about that, to be honest. Can I just see what your things are without... Yes, thank you. Oh, but it won't tell me what they are? That's a bitch. Okay, hold on. Because I want to see where I need to put my points in the wheel to get this conversation, and I don't remember. Daring? Oh, those are both so hard. I guess we'll go for daring or clever. What do you think, chat? Should we try and get the daring tree up or the clever tree? Jake does not strike me as a particularly daring man, but... Bold, dauntless. Clever, bright, intelligent. Lucky, fortuitous, prosperous. I think daring seems more interesting. Okay. Oh, I can just fucking... Does that mean I can do that combo now? Hold on. Yeah. Oh, I can do it now. Let's fucking go. Okay. Do you have to follow it? But do you have to follow it, though? Huh? What I'm trying to say is, can you choose not to follow that tradition? What the hell? I'm just doing what I like. Why are you so bothered by that? Oh, I didn't mean to pry. I'll stop now. Incredibly funny conversation, actually. Okay. Well, we still have some. I want to take some points in seduction, and, I don't know, start. Keep the rest of our points, but do that so that we have a little start in everywhere, so that if we need to unlock stuff, we have a little head start. But I'm gonna go ahead and start working. Okay, he won't work at the brothel today, right? No, she won't learn from Madam M. Okay, that's fine. So, you can go here. And learn to kiss, yeah. And you can go learn from Madam M. At least for right now. Also, there's annoying Asian beetle bugs are back this year. I absolutely hate those fuckers. The not ladybug ones are different ones. Oh. Event. Your incubus wants Mistress X to give him a better instructor, but it's going to cost extra. Sure chance to lose some money, a sure chance to gain, a small chance to gain a positive trait. Chance to gain some affection. Oh. I'm fucking this up. The ladybug ones? No, I also hate those fuckers. They bite. That's like the bigger thing. Is that head of yours just an ornament? I'm sorry. He hates me so much. I just got him. Well, he's not gonna learn Flare any... Oh no, he is learning Flare. God damn it. Nightmare Incubus. After this, we'll send him to work. There's this new student who's always bothering your incubus and ruining his mood to learn. This is happening to Dayton, I think. Big chance to gain some heart, a sure chance to lose some money, a tiny chance to gain a trait. Gain heart, let's fucking go. Lose $85, that's fine. I'll gladly follow that. You are so nice to me. Thank you, Dayton. Unlike Camden, who sucks. Okay. We're not killing him, though. You're actually better off singing, Dayton. You're just gonna keep getting taught because you suck. I'm so mad at him for having like 8 negative effects upon being born. Hotel under investigation, money up, and okay, well that seems dangerous for me, however. have you considered? He isn't affectionate enough with me? Okay, well that's fair. Hey man. People live in that filthy place? What place? You've brought me there. How dare you forget? That place is full of lowlifes. So unsightly. I don't want to go there ever again. Well, actually, if you're talking about the slum, I kind of need you to go to the Aphrodite brothel today. No, send a callous incubus to that damned brothel instead. Why them? Because I said so. I have to summon them first. Summon a callous for Camden. Okay, well we don't. Camden, I can't do that for a variety of reasons. Most importantly being, I don't know what that means, I don't think. Because I don't think he's a callous. No, he's not. And we don't have the $1,000 to open a new part of the house. So you're just gonna have to get over yourself at the moment. Oh, that's under... Oh, that hotel, not the brothel. The brothel is a separate building, I see. Tacky doesn't want to learn from Madam M. You can go in here for now. We gotta earn money. Oh, well, we can't earn money at the moment. Let's get your flare up, actually. Especially now that you can't sing. We need to get you going. Yeah, our affection with Camden is at 0, so maybe he's not the incubus that we're gonna make in love with us. Customer is inviting his friend to join the fun without notice. Be a chance to earn more carnal essence. A small chance to trigger big news. Oh my god, nothing happened. I don't know if I can tolerate this. Camden, I am just fucking up with him. Is he, like, hard? I don't... Like, is he harder to train incubus? I don't understand. We're gonna swap places, though. You're gonna go here. You are going to go here. Your incubus wants Mistress X to give him a better instructor. We don't have money. He's gonna be so mad. Oh, he gave him the terrible trade again? Does he have it twice? No. Okay. Chat, I think we killed this fucking incubus. Not actually, but like, holy shit, dude. What does he want from me? City guard killed? Well, that's not my problem. Hey, man. Okay, nothing new. Can't progress that till I do that. Can't do this until he likes me more. Alright, well. How much is expanding my house? 5,000? Yeah, we super do not have $5,000, guys. Guys, we cannot be doing that. You are going to go sing. You have 2% affection with me now? Thank Christ. Haggle for $1. Yeah. Okay, well. Come on, fellas. We need the cash. Get going. The room that is booked for your incubus is leaking, but the session has already begun. Your choice is highly questionable. Listen, brother. I'm a businessman with a business plan. You don't want to learn Flare. Or you can, but you... Okay. I mean, I just have to work you because you can't do anything else because you're full of negative status effects. Atticus becoming a pimp wasn't in my 2025 bingo card. No, I have to do it for my wife. You don't understand. You don't understand my wife. It's for my wife. That's why they're men. That's why they're men. You don't understand. Because if it's gay, it's fine. Obviously. Town officials are visiting the slum. A big chance? I don't want to lose. Okay, well, whatever. Yes, all according to plan. Two more days. Negative 30% to gaining play. Bro, you suck so bad. I want to kill him. Just because he's useless to me. Which is mean and evil. I acknowledge. I acknowledge that it's mean and evil. However... The war is over. Oh shit, I didn't even know a war was going on. This is great news, everybody. It's over. Let's fucking go. Okay, hello, Incubi. How are you doing? I doubt you're gonna talk to me. Yeah, okay. So, our new plan, is to go work. Are you still a bitch? Yes, okay. We're gonna extract from Camden. Because he's useless to me. And... honestly, just gonna have him sing. I know that I should probably be training him to be better at, the sex, but honestly, just making him a singer at the hotel is going much better, I think. The ruins are shaking, however the carnal essence extraction is still in process. Continuing it may be dangerous, but stopping can traumatize your incubi. Stop it anyway. A tiny chance to die. Gain 8 heart, the incubus has stopped. Gain the faithful track. What did I even expect? Did you want me to let you die? Duration -1 at the ruins or shrine. I hate him! I hate him! Bro! Like, I don't want him to die. So I'm like, okay, we'll pause. And he's like, why'd you do that? Why didn't you just let me die? I hate you! Camden, you suck so bad. You are the worst fucking incubus. After this, we will drain Dayton. Alright, Dayton, get in there. And yeah, you're just gonna go fuck some more. Thank you. Mistress X sighted at brothel. I have, great news for you about why her name is Mistress X newspaper. Brothel is up, though, so that's good for money. I don't imagine yeah. I don't know if I should be going for the in love with me thing, or if I should be going for, oh, thank God he's lost his other bad trait and we can finally make him do other shit. Or if we should be trying to unlock another door. I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna send you here because this is the first time I've been able to actually fucking send you there. And we're gonna take advantage of the brothel being up. You go singing, because that's what you're good at. Okay, Camden is done. Do another one. Unfortunately, I was letting Dayton sit there for a second because I don't want to send him to the brothel. I want to send him into the brothel. I want to, send him to get extracted. You got so much essence, my boy. Suck him good and hard through his jorts. Red chili, the best Asian spice? Probably true. Let me just start working again. Okay, we can take Dayton on a date. So we're gonna do that. Even though it's gonna eat our money. He's still got the terrible trait, and I don't think we can get rid of that. Which I think means he's also gotta be a singer, which is not great. Alright, I guess we're pivoting Dayton into being our sex creature. You found gold on the bench and want to take it to the lost and found, but your incubus insists you keep it. I'm gonna keep it. Good, it looks like you can read my mind. I was gonna say, I feel like he of all people would appreciate keeping it the most, honestly. Okay. We're going to send you here. I don't think that interferes. In love! He's in love! Let's fucking go! Okay. Go sing? I guess. And now we will, work on... I always try to do this too late in the day, and I can't do it. Which one of you has the higher flare? Him. Okay, you'll go there. You'll go here. Oh, we're making bank, actually. We're almost at buying another thing for the house. Economy is getting better. Let's go. Okay, first things first, we're gonna send him to get extracted. And then... honestly, I'm just gonna send you here. Camden gained the lovesick trait. Camden only knows one song, and it's All Star by Smash Mouth. And you know what? He's making it work. Affection gain plus 2,000? Or 200? I can't read. Why are you so nice all of a sudden, Camden? What the fuck? I'm not gonna lie, that does make me feel like I should, like, take him on a date. But our monies. I guess I'll do it, but our monies. Incubus is declining a gift from a fan. She said that she will give you a decent amount of gold if you take it and give it to him. Big chance to respect your Incubus's wish. Good, it's like you can read my mind. This is so easy. This harem shit is so easy. Lane. Gain flare minus 15%. That sucks, but okay. Damn, yeah, that buffed Camden to 37% because of that increase. That's actually kind of crazy. Okay, does anybody like me enough to talk to me now? Yes, let's fucking go. You know, for someone who always nags me about having too much stuff, have you taken a look at your own room? It's still much more spacious than this room. But there is stuff you don't use, right? For example, the jewelry. Just give it to me. I'll take good care of your things. I can't give them to you. Special place in heart. Daring level 3. Let's fucking go. Those jewels are my wife's. They hold a special place in my heart. So sappy. Even the clothes? Those are real dull, though. I don't have the heart to throw them away. You're weird. Duration -1 of the brothel. Okay. Oh, I still have to make your creature. Yeah. Sorry. Leave me alone. Okay, how we doing, boys? Town officials are visiting. I don't think that's good. Something falls on your incubus, stopping the carnal extraction process. Excuse me. Philip says that it's wiser to just continue. Lose heart, small chance to gain. Call it a day. Yes, all according to plan. You have to go back, though, my guy. Okay. Gonna go back here. Dayton gained the gold digger trait. Acquire gold minus 30%. God damn it, he's stealing from me! You son of a bitch. You don't get to work right now. You're gonna learn how to kiss as a punishment. Go to kiss school, idiot. Okay, you can go sing. Yo, you're on a watch streak, Quispy. 3-stream watch streak. I've never seen that before. Sorry, I went silent because I was staring at it on the screen. I was like, what is that? What is that notification? I've never seen that. Must have left it there. I have to go back. What's wrong? I lost my pendant. The last time I saw it was at Nor Academy. You want to go back there and look for it? It'd be great if you could arrange that. Today might not be the best time. How about tomorrow instead? No, it has to be this instant. What if someone else picked it up? Alright. I mean, that's not that hard, to be honest. Does that negate my other bad thing, or do I have both of these? Yeah, okay, never mind. So the problem with summoning a demon for Camden is that I don't know what one it is that he wants me to summon is, like, the main thing. Like, for all I know, we can, like, open the space and summon an incubus, but it might be the wrong incubus. Which I'm unironically a little worried about. I really wish the gold digger trait was not a permanent one. Oh shit, we almost have enough to turn in. Oh, just go over here. Hold on. Finish your job, please. The ruins are shaking. I don't like the sound of that. Well, it worked out, so don't fucking worry about it. Oh, okay, we've unlocked chapter 2. Let's fucking go. Between Two Fires. Excellent work collecting carnal essence, Mr. Jake. What is it? You look a bit different. How so? How shall I put this? Are there any issues to report about the incubi? Nothing much, actually. Well, I have been talking with them a lot. You've successfully conversed with them? Fascinating! How was it? I feel like I can understand them better, and they're more open with me now. Now, about turning them into humans. This remains only a hypothesis, but have you attempted copulating with one who feels great affection towards you? I was joking about fucking it. I was joking about that. Theoretically, carnal essence is formed from our sexual desire, right? The more we want to engage in sexual activity, the more carnal essence we produce. I thought it might apply to incubi as well. The fonder they are of you, the more they may desire fornication, and once they are overflowing with carnal essence, what would happen? Their transformation into humans, they're all that built-up carnal essence, theoretically. And after that, you might need to let the dagger do its job and extract the essence. That's insane! I might have done terrible things, but to cheat on my wife like that and then kill the incubus anyway? Mr. Jake, I haven't told you why I've been doing my research into the occult, have I? The reason is more or less the same as yours. My father died before I was born. I was raised by my mother, however, What happened to her? She got terribly ill at such a young age. I tried my best to find a cure. Tried. I have to do more than cure her illness now. Don't tell me. Yes, I failed her, so that's why. I don't trust him. We are partners with a shared goal, Mr. Jake. I guarantee you it will be safe. Let's just think about this as a harmless science experiment. I won't let you go through the risks I've taken in the past. I'll try. Okay, consummate love with an incubus. Tall order game. I should make one of the incubi fall in love with me first. Have we not done that? Oh, I forgot we have to go get his thing. Is that still a thing? Because I think I forgot. Yeah, I fucked it. I fucked it! No! Okay, well... Alright, well, you're gonna go here. Nope, sorry. Oh, I can invest. I didn't even think about that. We should do that after we try and do the other thing for the guy. 50%. You are my highest. You're gonna go sing, though. I can't afford to take you on a date right now. We're trying to unlock more space, specifically for you as well. We'll start upgrading stuff once we unlock this next space, especially because then we'll have 3 incubi running around doing shit. And I imagine our money making will go up. Also, we're almost there, to be honest. We need like $1,000 more dollars, $800 more dollars. You got this, guys. Dayton is so fast, too. The town officials are visiting. A big chance to lose some, a small chance to gain. I don't think that's good. I didn't ask what you thought. Camden gained in love trait. The alchemy guy looks like the villain in Partio's route in Octopath 2, and it makes me trust his shady ass 10 times less. He is not a trustworthy looking individual. We need $100? Are you kidding me? Well, that's fine. That's not that hard, but like, come the fuck on. Which one of you is in love with me? If you have the in love trait, does that mean I can fuck you on the bed? Okay, no, but you would think the in love trait, I guess it means he's in love with a client, question mark? Affection gained, affection gained. I feel like we have to take him to the fucking thing with 2 affection gained statuses on him. But we'll do this first. Oh, I should send him somewhere, hold on. He gains flair so slow, I'm just like not even gonna make him worry about it. Okay, can we afford... Yes. And then we're gonna go back to working Dayton to the bone, because he's our moneymaker. The room that is booked for your incubus is leaking. Wait for the session to end. Yeah, to the bone! Somebody's bone. I might as well extract your essence while you're here, Camden. An old lady insists that she wants to be served by your incubus in his demon form, even though she can barely take it. Let her do what she wants. The incubus task is stopped. Gain 3 affection, gained 20. Okay. Why did I gain affection on that if he didn't like it? Alright, whatever. I'm not. Whatever. He can be about what he's about. I wish the alchemy guy would pay me for letting him drain my... suck the soul out of my incubi. I would appreciate some compensation, I think. It's just polite. You know? Alright, we can make another incubus. What do we want to do, chat? We have 4 vials of blood. So we could do all blood. We haven't done all blood yet. We could also do 2 of any and then 1 of another. Blood that has been used for a ritual. Because our crow guy is all new. The first guy we had that we killed was all rotten ones. And then our problem child is 2 blood in a special item we don't have anymore. I don't know what he wants me to make though. The recipe for it. I guess we should just do another blood and just get all of them out of the way. Cause like, okay, so yeah, that'll just make a Lamia, which is what he is, and then these are both unknown. I'll just do the default and see what we get out of it, and hopefully it's what's his face wants. Shysta. Oh my god, he's a little moth guy. Hello. Economical? Acquired gold 15%? Let's fucking go! Hey man. How are you feeling? Hello? Are you asleep? Who are you? I love the eyes on the wings and tail moving. Sorry to interrupt your sleep. It was a good sleep and you ruined it. Do you feel comfortable here? I just like to sleep, that's all. Do you find it comfortable here? It's quieter here. I see. Oh, I haven't introduced myself. I'm Jake. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, too. Good night. That was the simplest introduction I've ever had. He's got bad charm and flair out the box, though. That's fine, though. We can work on that. Alright. Things look relatively normal here. Oh, Dayton has a lot of essence. Hold on. Go in there. Get rid of that. You're gonna go sing. Spencer. You need to learn to do literally anything, bro. Go somewhere. Learn skills. 1,000 doll hairs immediately. That's pretty good. Okay, Camden, if you do well at this, I'll take you on a date after. And then... I'm gonna try and keep Spencer pretty even skill-wise, just because I feel like at the moment we have, one really good, fucker and one really good singer. Stroll at the park. Because you still have your in love and lovesick traits, let's fucking go. Oh, did we not finish our date? Oh, that's annoying! Yes, I know I didn't summon what you wanted, I'm sorry. I don't know what that thing is that you want me to make. I think this should go here. You've started tidying up? That's not it. I just don't want them to scratch each other. Then while you're at it, why don't you try decluttering? Decluttering? Yes, that way you can have more space in your room. Whoa, who said I wanted to throw them away? Bold level 1 or bright level 1? Okay, I'll respond later. Let me go look at those. Bold and bright. Clever. Okay, bright is the next one. Locked. How do I unlock it? Can I not get it yet? Oh, I don't have enough. I see. Okay, well, we can't do anything with that conversation. Hello, Spencer. Do you have anything to say? Excuse me, Spencer? Oh, he's still sleeping. He has a lot of work today. I shouldn't bother him. What is it, Jake? Nothing. You can go back to sleep if you're tired. We still have time before we go to town. I feel okay to talk. Used to the new routine? It's normal for an incubus to suck the carnal essence out of men. I don't even think of it as a job. That makes sense. Just like how you humans need to eat to live, we need carnal essence for the same purpose. Alright, I'm sleepy again. Let me rest for a bit. Okay, I understand. I like his goat feet also. His goat feet are very nice. Okay, yeah, I still can't fuck him. Okay, well. Alright. Cost is down or up? Money for singing is up. Someone filed a complaint about your incubus not wanting to serve them. Your incubus denies it. I'm gonna defend my incubus. We're in sync, huh? Yeah. Nobody talks shit about my incubi. The fuck is your problem? Defend my boys. We're gonna have to go on a date tomorrow with Camden first thing so we can get the full effect of it. I'm so annoyed we didn't get the full one last time. Which is my fault, to be fair, but, like... Side-eye emoji. Doesn't mean I have to be happy about it. Camden gained the fancy trait. Well, that's fine. Hopefully it'll just, yeah, it evens out with Dayton's cost thing, so it's fine. Spencer, are you awake? I want to talk about your schedule. Huh? You're still sleepy, aren't you? I'm always sleepy. What is it about my schedule? Oh, don't send me to charm school today. Why? I don't like her. She scolds me a lot for sleeping in class. You mean Madam M? That's expected, though. Assign me anywhere else, but not there. Okay, Jake? We'll see about that. We can do that. You got anything to say? No, this is just the decluttering conversation. I forgot. I forgot. Sorry. And you're not going to say anything of interest either. Alright. So, first things first, we're going to take Camden on a date. We're going to let him get drained, and you want to go anywhere but charm school. That's fine. You can go to the brothel. Lady insists she wants to be served in demon form. Good, it's like you can read my mind. The park management announces that the garden area will close for maintenance, but your incubus really wants to go there. Go to the garden. So you can actually use your brain. Good. I'm gonna tidy up my house while I listen, so I'm gonna lurk. Absolutely no worries. Yeah, you got inspired by the crow boy talking about decluttering, didn't you? Aw, Camden's 100% in love with us. Let's fucking go. It's time. It's a weird sound coming from the attic, and it's been on for days. Gain 7, check your newspaper tomorrow? Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. Yes, that's good thinking. Okay. So unfortunately, Spencer's just kind of waiting, because I don't want to put him anywhere he doesn't want to be right now. Okay, so we should be able to consummate. Intruder alert at Noir Academy. Did I do that? I think I caught that. Okay, we're gonna fuck Camden now. Consummate love. My current skills. I'll obtain 172 carnal essence and achievements. Making a move now? That's a cute representation. Oh my god, he's a human! Maybe I can make another decision if I have a deeper conversation with him. Oh, I can't decide to save him because we aren't close enough. I see. I have to kill him for Luna. You're pretty human. Sorry that I'm stabbing you. This is such enormous carnal essence. Vampire's blood. Philip was right after all. Seems like people from the shrine move around more often these days. Perhaps they just want to recruit more people? Whatever it is, I hope it's nothing serious. Is that the people from the shrine? Hey, bestie! Wait, dear sir. Please listen to what we have to say. But I don't have time. It's your wife's soul. It's with us. My wife's soul? Sorry, I was throwing something away. Don't mess with me. We can help you communicate with her, but her soul is weak right now. That is why we need your help. I was gonna say, it's crazy to assume that the first motherfucker that rolls up at your house after your wife dies is, like, the guy your wife sent to help you or whatever, and not, like, the literal church. No offense. Because that was my thought when they showed up for the first time, and you were like, get the fuck out. Her soul needs to be strong enough to communicate with us. We have to feed it with carnal essence. Of course we don't come empty-handed. Please accept this. It will help you with your objective. This is material to summon an incubus? Guy who is learning now that, like, the entire economy runs off summoning demons and he was the last to know. I'm sure you can get more of this ingredient somewhere in Harbeloth. Lastly, please allow us to bless you with the power of the Goddess of Fortune. Drive-by blessings. Oh my god! Oh, Goddess of Fortune, with your blessing grant this man power beyond the reach of us mortals. Did you multiply? What were you? With this, you have been blessed with new skills to help with your journey. New skills? What do you mean? At least give me a proper explanation. We're sorry, sir, we can't say more than that right now if you want to hear from your wife. Bring your incubi to the shrine once he's gathered 3,000 carnal essence. They went away just like that. Wait, does Philip know about them? Since I know about incubi, that must be the case. Did the mirror just glow? This is a result of that weird chant? Oh, lots more skills now. Okay. Well. First we should make an incubus. Lead. I want to use the lead and the vampire blood. Please don't fuck up. I'll be so sad. Ian. Hey, dude! Bargainer. Building cost. Alright, Ian. Hey, dapper gentleman. Well, this is different. Hello there! What do you mean by different? No, don't mind what I just said. For a moment I thought you were a human. My, that's flattering. Am I that indistinguishable from a human? Not really. Does he come here often? You look like you know a way around this place. Yes, our kind wouldn't miss a chance to come to the human realm. I must say there's something different about you. What's that? You look like you can mingle well with humans. Well, that's our very purpose for coming to this realm. It's you humans who motivate us to come here often. Oh. He started with really good charm. How are you doing, Spencer? Dead tired. I thought you were used to this kind of thing. But not every day, duh. Now dealing with a customer for more than 5 minutes already makes me exhausted. Bold one, bright one. Okay. We have a bunch of stuff now, so we can get some. Bold and bright. Want them to scratch each other. Okay, what do you need? Bold one and bright one. Let's go for bright, because we got bold, okay. So let's come over here. So we need to bright, okay. Learn, learn, learn. So then, we should be able to talk to both of them now.
Haha!
How about classes? How's everything outside of work? Do you enjoy the classes? Not really, they don't seem to be too useful for me. I see, have you tried visiting other places? Nope, too tiring. How about we go somewhere together? I could buy you something nice too, like a new pillow. A new pillow, eh? Not a bad idea, actually. I can help you tidy up. I got too excited, sorry. I don't get how it can make you excited. But if you need some help to tidy up, I can always lend a hand. Don't bother. Earn 3,000 for the hallowed. Okay. I guess we just start working now, to be honest. That's where the shrine is. Put my incubi there so that the hallowed can extract their carnal essence. Is it Philip? I have so many questions to ask. Ah, Mr. Jake! Fancy seeing you here. It's you, motherfucker. I want to ask you something. Do you work with the shrine? The shrine? No, Mr. Jake, I only work with you. What's with them, if I may ask? Oh, they came to my place yesterday. They said that they have my wife's soul. Well, one thing I'm certain of is that I don't work with them. But why did they suddenly contact you? That strikes me as odd. My advice, Mr. Jake, is to be on your guard. We don't know what they are plotting. Motherfucker, I don't know why you contacted me. I don't know what you're planning. Sorry, it's just like everybody's suspicious here. So for him to be like, man, that's weird. They're weird. Brother, you're weird. You're weird. How do they know about me and the incubi then? Mr. Jake? Yeah, don't worry. Sorry, I'm having an eternal crisis. He's a weirdo. He is a weirdo. I guess you're right. Okay. We'll pause. Okay, there's the shrine. I mean, I can send... Is your incubus ready? Yeah, go in there. Don't die, please. I'm very nervous about sending you there, if I'm gonna be honest. What do we do? Send Ian there. Him there. We gotta start working on leveling up stuff, too. The customer didn't listen to your incubus warning about his demon form. She almost fainted. Argue with the customer. Yeah, get... Oh my god, I lost $500? That customer is, I'm gonna kill them, actually. Joke's on them. They will not survive. The part where I fucking kill you. I don't like that my incubus doesn't seem to be happy to be at the shrine. That does, stress me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Hey, Ian, go train. Spencer, go sing. We gotta make up that money that we lost. Madam M, show at hotel. Okay. Hello, everybody, what's up? He isn't affectionate enough. Okay. He isn't affectionate enough. Okay. Hello, Ian. What do you have for me today, Jake? I'm ready to get assigned anywhere. You're so full of spirit. Just being here makes me happy. Why don't we go to the park today? The park? Why? To boost your mood even more. You can see lots of humans there. Are you sure about that? I'd be more than happy to go. It's rare to see an incubus as high-spirited as him. His presence alone gives me energy. Okay, we have to... With what money? With what money are we taking him to the park, first of all? But, alright. Okay. With the money, Drayton earns us. I'm done cleaning. Everything was clean. I just had to sweep up 300 ladybug corpses. Are they actual ladybugs or the fuck-ass Asian beetles? The Asian beetles, yeah. Okay, We don't have enough. Okay, can I not cancel a thing? That sucks. Okay, well. Spencer getting the fancy trait. Building God damn it, Spencer. Oh, shit. I don't have Dayton doing anything. Oh, I should have sent him to the shrine. Well, too late. Too late now. No, 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 shit. I'm wasting time. Someone is spreading a rumor that your incubi is highly dangerous. It's safe for your incubus to stay in his human form. Let him do what he wants. Alright. Cost down on trainings, so that's good. Hey, you're here again. Oh, sorry, did I disturb you? Not at all. Singing puts me in a good mood. Why are we flirting with this incubus so hard, right? Speaking of which, maybe you can tell me something about this world. What's happening recently? Plucky or cunning? Okay. Plucky or cunning? Cunning, okay. Okay. Can't get to either of these right now. Isn't affectionate enough? At 73? That's kind of crazy. Isn't affectionate enough? Okay. So, we're gonna drop straight enough there. Drop him off at singing practice. Drop Spencer off here. I think that's the best use of our everyone at the moment. Okay, okay. Actually, don't think that's a good idea. Do that. Do that. Make him sing, I think. Your incubus is declining a gift. She said that she'll give you a decent amount if you give it to him. Gains plain trait. That's a negative one, I think. Ooh, yeah. Alright, well. Much I can do about that at the moment. Go here. You made him a basic white boy, Atticus. No. That was not my intentions. Even the purest of actions are twisted for evil intent. Or something. We could probably kill, Dayton, but also he's like our best earning, incubus, so I kind of don't want to do that, to be frank. Okay. So you can go here, and then if I send Spencer here, that should be the goal for that. I think I'm just gonna focus on making Ian as good a singer as possible. Adding kinky play to the list of things we can learn to do. Okay, we've reached our objective. Send him there. The day's almost over, but I'll have you go sing to make up some money. I should go to the shrine, okay? I'm so scared, actually. I'm like, I don't trust these people. I don't trust anybody in this game, to be fair, though. Good day, sir. What brings you here today? I provided you with carnal essence. When can I talk with my wife? Ah, of course, sir. Please wait a moment. Here it is. My beloved Jake, thank you for all that you have done for me. It's only a matter of time until we can become one again and we can put this suffering behind us. Worry not, my soul has been kept safe by the devoted followers of the shrine. All that is needed is a body that can contain it. All the pain that we have been through will be worth it in the end. Until that time comes, Luna. This letter. Is it really from her? Where? Where is she? Bring Luna to me. She is here. Please take care of her. Oh, it's a lantern. Oh, Luna. Oh, dear Luna. Okay, this is similar to the soul in My Lovely Daughter. The performer should possess these powers to commence resurrection. Only one of these incubi can contain the soul. Oh, dear Luna. Please, sir, maintain your composure. We did cast a protection spell on the lantern, but it still has to be treated gently or else it could break along with the soul. Break? Please don't let any harm come to it. Why? Why did you just come out of nowhere after all this time? Where have you been? The ending's gonna be like Joel's Super Ghostbuster album and Alchemy Guy plays the drums so good and your wife comes back with no skin. Sir, ever since that day we have kept her soul safe with us. We cannot risk it falling into the wrong hands. But I'm her husband. We are so sorry, sir, but you must leave for now. This must be kept a secret. Oh, one more thing. Yes? You must cut off contact with that researcher. We were the ones who were told to help you, not him. What? Wait a minute! Yeah, stupid, dumbass, stupid idiot, dumbass, Jake. Now they're telling me that I can't trust Philip? What in the world is happening? Luna, I don't understand. Not that I think they're that much more trustworthy, to be frank, but, oh, Luna. Okay, I can't do anything with that. Consummate love. Oh, okay. Hey, any of you guys, in love with me? Probably not. You're the closest. He isn't affectionate enough. Isn't affectionate enough. Okay. Yeah, I think we just start working. Okay, what do we do? Send you to sing, I think. Send Spencer here. Send Dayton here. Send Spencer here. Him here. And then we're going on a date so that we can, fuck Dayton and bring our dead wife back? Question mark. Because that's how that works. Spencer, you're gonna go learn. Okay. Incubus room. I know it's your house, but don't you think you've been doing this too much? What do you mean? Going into my room, what else? You worried that I might blow up your house? Kind of. How about this? Bold level 2, bright level 2. Okay, I'll respond later. Bright. I don't have enough essence. I want to kill somebody. I'm gonna kill Spencer. Well, hold on. Actually, I do think Spencer might be the choice. Yeah. Just because everybody else has higher skills. You were planning this from the start, weren't you? You were always going to betray me. Sorry, Spencer. I gotta do what I gotta do to bring my wife back. Also, now we can make an entire incubus made out of lead. Which I'm sure won't give us lead poisoning. Oh my god, hello, nurse! I have many disrespectful things to say. This is awesome. Hey man, is your name literally just 4? That's crazy. Why is your name just 4? Hey man, who's there? Oh, it's you. I'd be happier if you would put your weapon down before greeting me. Oh, pardon my impudence. Good grief. You know how people usually act when surprised? Sure, but they aren't usually this extreme. Fair point. You look concerned. Tell me if there's anything bothering you. Still adapting to this realm? Perhaps you've gotten... Perhaps you haven't gotten used to this realm yet. That might be the case. It has been so long since the last time I came to this realm. So that's why you were so startled. The thing is, I spent most of my life guarding the demon realm. Thank you for the hydrate. Oh, I totally forgot to mention. Can you guys see the bald thing? For lack of a better thing, I started a channel point reward thing for bald stream. I don't actually know if you can see it on your guys' end. It should be active, but I don't actually know how to tell if it is or not. So if somebody else knows about it, let me know. Because I don't see it on my end. You don't see it? Okay, we'll have to look into fixing that later, because I did set it up. But Twitch hates me. This is well known. You need time to adjust to your new surroundings? Verily. Oh, he has, like, no charm or flair, though, bro. That's kind of bad. Okay, well, hey, Dayton. I will let go of Luna's possessions. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. If you at least try to sort your stuff up, I'll even let go of my wife's possessions. You're using me as your excuse to tidy up? That's not it. I'm concerned about the way you live. What a worrywart. Acquire carnal essence plus 30%. I think I've already talked with him enough. Okay, well, we're gonna try and fuck and kill him to bring back our wife. So you've fallen for me. Dayton's wings look like slimy baloney with holes in it. True. Oh my god, he is kind of cute. Okay, chat, what do we think? I will say, if we do that, I want to be with him and not Luna. I might end stream here just because I have plans in like 30 minutes. But if we kill him, I will continue going for the next like 30 minutes. I'll let you guys decide. Do we want to see what ending we get if we want to be with him, or do we want to kill him? But also, I love his pirate getup. He's so cute. Be with him? Okay, we did say we're getting one of our wife's possessions. Okay, I want to be with him, not Luna. Leaving behind his possessions in this realm, Dayton slowly let go of the ones he collected in the human realm as well. He realizes that it has to be done, so he truly starts a new life as a human. Jay continues to support him by helping him tidy up. After all, they will spend the rest of their lives together. That's cute. I got an achievement for getting my first succubus ending. Yeah, that's cute. So we can just pick up from day 3 anytime we want to play again. And I'll probably do a similar thing. We can look at our incubus decks. So we have... I feel like I unlocked like 2 of the hardest ones immediately, and then was just like, alright. I've played with succubi before, I think, yeah. So we can look at our... So here's the main female succubus. The Lamia, because we unlocked the Lamia. Oh, it's just all of the ones we have. So here's our wife if we were playing it with succubuses. This is I like the female Dylan a lot more than our guy. This is such a cute design. I like the male Agash more though. She just does not have the same scary badassery he did, I think. Yeah, we'll definitely play this again. I might even load up my lovely daughter to play sometime because I love the Fem Dayton's bird feet. Yeah, it is very very crow. He is very bourbon crow. He has them too, to be fair, but to a lesser extent. But yeah, that was fun. This was a fun little game to play. I'll probably play this again when I don't know what to play. And like I said, maybe play My Lovely Daughter, because I like that game as well. And it's like a similar vibe, but also very different, because you're making homunculi to try and make a perfect, like, body for your daughter who has passed away. So it's different, and you have to, like, manage the emotions and stuff, which is interesting as well. Good night, Atticus. Thank you for having me. Good night to you and everybody else. Thank you, guys. I'll be live tomorrow with Digimon, and I'll hopefully be less sleepy when I start than I was today. Sorry about that. I'm going to mute myself and see if there's anybody to raid, and if there is, we will raid, and if there's not, we will just end stream. So give me 1 second.
Jesus hjälper alltid kvinna och mest blå är sin bäst par. Och just nu kan du bra hade vän i livet panske besklar. Just med blå mitt blod. Just typ har vi ett par lille barn. Jesus hjälper alltid kvinna och mest blå är sitt bäst par. Och just nu kan du bra hade vän i livet panske besklar.